I've just met this amazing man and heard his wonderful life a little bit, and we'll get into it more in just moments. But it was an instant love. The minute I met you.
Let's tell the whole world we're in love.
Let's tell the whole world.
But don't tell anybody.
No, but I just wanted, it was one of those moments, I know you've all experienced it, when you meet somebody and you feel as if you have known them many, many, many years, maybe lifetimes, who knows.
My privilege, thank you.
Thank you, Sam. So, Sam, huge questions that personally I'm interested in. You have created and you've run programs for 8 United States presidents. Now, that's huge. How did you do that?
Well, first I've got to say that I'm very simple by nature. And some people ask me, what is it about me that I think stands out? And I'm optimistic. Happily, I have a lot of energy. I'm persistent and joyous. And I now understand it really all started from the beginning. There were 3 brothers, and I was always the do-gooder. And that's been true for my whole life. And then I started to have the privilege of meeting amazing people, and I think all of that was sent to me by the universe. And now I was born in New York City, and I was working on minority enterprise. In 1968 in New York, all the banks did not lend $1 million to Black and Hispanic businesses. And across the country, Blacks and Hispanics owned 1/1000th of 1% of the business assets. And I didn't think that was the right number. So I'm energetic. So I cranked up 3,000 volunteers, and in 2 years, 3 years, the banks in New York were lending $40 to $50 million a year, which set a tone for the whole country. And that wasn't my goal. I'm just like a balloon. You cut the end off, here I come. And then my mentor said, take what you're doing and make it a program with President Richard Nixon, who had campaigned on black capitalism. My response was, you are crazy. And one sentence changed my life. If you don't try, you don't get anywhere. The point of that story is, I'm not a big hero saying, here I come, I'm going to create programs for President of the United States. I said it was crazy, but one simple sentence changed my life. Now, once I'd done it once, it's pretty good. If you can create a program for the President of the United States, and I was writing the letters, and the President was sending them out, and I did all the follow-up. And in that case with Nixon, we created the largest transfer in the history of America of resources into Black and Hispanic economic institutions. It was historic. So I figured if I did it once, I'd just keep doing it. So I've done it 8 times.
What was your favorite presidency and why?
You know, I get asked that, and my answer is Ronald Reagan. Because he was a big thinker, and answers were fast. It was the fastest president's program we'd set up, and it was just an honor. The most significant was Jimmy Carter. It took tremendous patience. What you know about Jimmy Carter is that they went into every detail, total detail. That took a long time, but it was the most significant. With Jimmy Carter, we ended up in 100 cities, and we created more than 10 million jobs because of the systems we set up with Jimmy Carter, 10 million jobs in poor communities. That was the most significant. Now, I graduated from college in 1961, and John Kennedy got elected president. And the presidency of John Kennedy changed my life and really the life of a whole generation. I never met the president, but I was given a very personal special tour of the White House, and we went right to the Oval Office. And there was the president's rocking chair, if you remember. And for once, I didn't do what I always want to do. I was going to run across and get in the rocking chair and go like this, but I didn't, and I sort of regret it to this day, but I did the right thing.
You did the right thing. Right. Darn. You told me that in 2014, you had a personal crisis. Would you like to share that?
Sure. I'd done all of these things, and I had at that point create and run a program for 8 presidents of the United States, and the nonprofit that I had set up had $30 million. And I put a person in as president and bumped myself upstairs to chairman. And I went to a board meeting, which I didn't pay much attention to because they're paying my salary and I had my pension there. And I was started the Jeffs Award and was changed the Social Security system, all sorts of other things. And I was the first item on the agenda. I'm fired, and the pension isn't mine. So at age 75, I was supposed to start my life over again. At 75, new economics starting at 0. That was not a bright moment.
No.
And it created a lot of stress, and I couldn't sleep. And I'd heard about meditation, and I'd never really done it. So that crisis got me into go inside, and it changed my life. It opened up a whole new life. So now the universe sent that crisis. I'm thankful for the person and the people who tried to perpetrate that on me. I'm extremely grateful because I wouldn't be here but for that. And it boils down to a very simple idea, which is now the newest neuroscience from all the quantum leaps of neuroscience. If you're operating in your 5 senses and connect to the universe, you're processing information at 40 million bits a second. We wouldn't be talking about that but for the crisis. And the point is, every human being, from a brain science viewpoint, has that capacity. So the vision is, let's go from 40 to 40 million and elevate human behavior. And that was the crisis, and I'm thankful for it.
Brilliant. And you can tell. I can tell looking at you.
Energy,
It's
optimism.
Good energy. Great
Here we
energy.
come. You
Yeah.
can't stop it.
Now, which kind of meditation did you begin with? And have you stayed there?
The meditation was just simple, and what I found was it was a breathing exercise. And then I went around the world to try to explore Sam Beard, and I went everywhere to be trained, just to improve myself. And what I found out was that a successful person, physically I eat pretty good, and I exercise pretty good. I gave myself an 8 out of 10. Mentally, I went to very good schools. I'm a very hard-working C+ average. I'm no genius in the classroom, so I gave myself an 8. And that was probably an exaggeration. When it came to emotion, my emotional side, emotional intelligence, I gave myself a 5. I had a great family, but there was never a come sit in my lap, I love you. And so I had all the energy to do what I did, but I was not a good listener about something else someone was thinking about. And I was not emotionally connected to their passions. And I'm now improved on that through all the exercise and training. The 4th side of a successful person is spiritual, and I was going to give myself a 0. We've been brought up in a Catholic family, and as a young kid, I always got it wrong. I didn't know whether to stand up or sit down or kneel, and I was going up and down and up and down. It was always wrong, and I was so embarrassed. And then it was all in language which didn't make sense to me. And I was going to give myself a 0, but my whole life has been helping others. And every religion in the history of religion said help others. So I gave myself a 5. With all the different meditations I've taken and exercises, I'm now pleased to say that I'm a strong path spiritually. And I give myself a 9, but I also consider 9, like everybody else, just to be a beginning, even though 10 is the highest. So I'm a whole different person, and it comes out of the crisis, and here I am today.
It's wonderful.
Now, I told Linda that here's a set period of questions, and that wasn't one of them. But I told her whatever she asked, I can answer.
Well, because it felt
I know.
organic.
Keep going. You're doing great.
It felt like, you talked about meditation, but I was curious as to how did you start? What did you stick with TM, for instance, or did you veer off? That is an interesting question to me.
I did. I absolutely went to TM and got trained in TM, but many others.
Yeah, I think that's. I'm relating because I was raised Catholic as well, and I did a similar thing. And I started with TM in '73, and then you just kind of veer off. And you sort of find?
I do want to say that I'm a great admirer of the Catholic Church because there's so many people who has changed their lives and connected to divinity. And Catholic Church charities is off the charts amazing.
Your mission is to create a more connected and conscious world. I love that. So what does that mean?
So that is the point. If you connect to the universe, it's about connect, more conscious world. And then what we've done is we've divided that into two different sort of educational initiatives. And the first is ages 0 to 5. And both of them are about brain science, and the second is age 6 to 106. 0 to 5, the brain science is the baby is born, and the scientists now know billions of synapses start connecting, 1 million a second. And you have to be spoken to, sung to, or read to 25 to 30 million words by your 3rd birthday. And what they know is, from a science viewpoint, the neurological passages, which is your cognitive capacity. And let's stop there. What is your cognitive capacity? Your cognitive capacity is your ability to succeed in school. And after the 3rd birthday, for the most part, you cannot catch up. So the top scientists will tell you, and the amazing thing also is, the scientists largely agree. Usually everybody's fighting. This is agreed to by almost all of the scientists. And what they tell you is you're supposed to do 25 to 30 million words. If you don't say half of that, they will tell you at the 3rd birthday, 60% you're going to drop out of high school. They know it at the 3rd birthday,
wow.
And for the most part, you can't catch up. And if you drop out of high school, 80% you end up in prison. And so we have to reverse that. And to me, 0 to 5, age 4 is important, age 5 is important, but the critical year is 3. And that defines poverty and racism and inequity and injustice all around the world, and we're simply going to change it, period. Now let's go over to 6 to 106. And that's all about being connected to the universe. And we've just come out with a book, and the title tells it all. Connect, the ultimate human superpower. And that's what it is. And it's the power of going from your 5 senses and processing information at 40 bits a second to going inside and flow, connect to the universe, 40 million bits a second. And that's what it's all about. And most of you here in this audience understand that and appreciate it. And we have the chance with that to completely elevate human behavior at a quantum leap. And last night I was talking to somebody and said, here comes human behavior over millions and millions of years, and then you have a little blip, like the Renaissance, another little blip, Enlightenment. What we now know with science is going to be a tremendous growth. Because if you go from 40 to 40 million, which we now know scientifically you have the capacity, we're on the verge of an opportunity to totally transfer human behavior and get to a level we never imagined. And that's what we're going to do.
Yay! I love hearing that. Brilliant. So what now, because we've been isolated, what does that do to the human?
It's very interesting. I'm going to talk a little bit about Freddie Ravel. But one of the great things that the universe has sent to me is Freddie Ravel. He is a world-famous piano player and plays the instrument for every major musician, like Lady Gaga. And he started out in Earth, Wind, and Fire. And he has fallen in love with 0 to 5. And October of 2022, Freddie Ravel is going to help us create a song. And on United Nations Day, October 24th, with another partner we have is Lions International. And we're going to take 0 to 5 and go around and try to reach and change the behavior of millions and millions of people. And when I was talking to Freddie last night, I was trying to explain the power of what we're talking about. Here comes human behavior over the millions of years, and then now you got the Renaissance, a little blip, and now you got Enlightenment. We remember, here's another blip. And also, if you understand the history of the world, China earlier, you have blips, and Egypt, little blips. But now, we've never known what we know from a scientific viewpoint and what we learned in space. And we have a chance to go from here up to here, and that's what we're going to do.
Yes. When?
I say in the next 10 years that I'm mindful of geologic time. And geologic time is a little longer than 10 years. But the point is, it will happen. And I think faster than we imagine. And I will also tell you that COVID is the worst thing, certainly in my lifetime, it's the worst thing since World War II. And I actually think, I told this to Freddie last night, I think that was sent by the universe. Because out of COVID will come the most creative period in the history of humanity. And I will tell you, just in our little world, for the last 2 years, I had no appointments and no phone calls. And I sit in my little bed and then in my little office. And it's the most creative 2 years in my life, bar none. And we now have 8 initiatives of people like me, each one of which wants to impact 1 billion people. And the point that I'm making is there are probably 40,000 people like that all around the world that the universe has inspired, each one of which, out of COVID, has the vision of impacting 1 billion people. And that's never happened before. So out of COVID, which is a disaster, is going to come an amazing era of possibility, opportunity, and elevation.
These are great questions, and we want to hear you. We need to hear you. It's
My version
important.
about hearing me is, after a while, it's just yawning.
But this is not, no, this
When
is
is
one
the
that-
son
no.
of a bitch going to stop?
That's not correct. Not correct. Okay, I think this follows. What are you most passionate about? I think you've answered
Oh,
that.
answer. I'm most passionate about 0 to 5 for just the reasons I told you.
Yeah.
And then I'll tell you about it. When I worked with Senator Robert Kennedy and Bedford Stuyvesant, he made a speech about we're going to end poverty. It's unacceptable in America. And President Lyndon Johnson made a speech, we're going to end poverty. It's totally unacceptable. 50 years later, in the United States, trillions of dollars, and it's worse. 50 years later, trillions of dollars, and it's worse. Now, in the 60s, they knew nothing about 0 to 5 and what I just told you. That's new science. It happens that I have traveled the world and I met a series of extraordinary people, all related to Africa, and they'd never heard of 0 to 5. And once you hear it, you can't get it out of your head. We're on the path in 3 years to impact the lives of 100 million people in Africa. It's unbelievable. And we will make this a program of President Biden. I hope. It's his choice. But I think we will, and we'll take it around the world. Now, what I then want to do is share a personal moment. Because when I think of Robert Kennedy, I have a hard time talking about that. The assassination of the senator, simply stated, was the worst day in my life. If there's anything on television about the Kennedys, I can't watch it. And the nation was in tears, and I was in tears. I thought my life was over. And then, lying down basically on the street in tears, I thought of what was the message of the Kennedys. And the message of the Kennedys, one person could make a difference. So I picked myself up and said, damn it, here I go. And I went back to my one-bedroom apartment and started what I'm doing now. And I attribute that to the vision of the Kennedys, and I'm deeply grateful.
You talk about impacting the lives of 1 billion people. Yeah. Now, that's not believable or doable to most people. So how do you plan to do this, Sam?
What I would say is that, again, going back to what I started with, you now see me in action. I'm pretty simple. I don't use fancy words. I do have a lot of energy, and I never would have thought I could create a program of the President of the United States. And I am persistent, and I am joyous. And that's not going to stop. Now, basically, when I have the privilege of creating and then running a program for the last 8 presidents and working with Jackie Kennedy to create the Jeffs Awards, which was a Nobel Prize for public service, and we did mobilize 150 media partners in the country, all promoting service. And they reach 100 million Americans every year. Pretty good. So I've learned a lot. And what I learned is it boils down to 3 things. First, collaboration. Go beyond your silo. It's not about you. It's not about your name. It's not about your budget. It's get everybody to collaborate. And Toddy's back there, and that's every word out of Toddy, which is collaborate and collaborate, and the same with Robert. So if you try to do something big, our goal is to get 10,000 organizations around the world to collaborate with us. And that way we reach 1 billion people. The next is, at local levels, it's opinion makers. I've done things with the presidents where we were operating in 100 cities. And we had 1,000 to 2,000 local opinion makers in each of those cities working with the media. And that's what changes the politics. So collaboration, and then grassroots unsung heroes. And I'll tell you that one of the things I'm proud about here is this is basically a launch. And because of Toddy and this group, we're going to come back to Greater Los Angeles many times. And we want everybody here to be opinion makers helping us sell 0 to 5 and 6 to 106. And the last thing is, we've never had before 21st century technology. And you take cell phones, and you take internet and social media. We have the grasp of reaching 1 billion people. So those 3 things are change makers and make it possible to do the billion. The next thing is, at Connect Universe, which is the big initiative, we have created an SOUL empowerment training system. SOUL empowerment system is connect with yourself, others, the universe, and then the L is love, serve others. I would love for you to go to our website, which is connectuniverse.org, and we have the first level of our training system. So the first 3 are up on our way to 12. The next thing we'd love for you to do is I'll talk about connect moments. An example of a connect moment is once you connect to the universe, serendipity, crazy things come to you that are not explicable in 5 senses. Joel Brokaw, who helped me write the book, Joel's connect moment is that in World War II, there were 4 Brokaw brothers, and one was killed, and the other was blown up in a ship off Iwo Jima. And the mother got a telegram, which was sad to tell you, your second son is likely dead, but we don't know yet. Norman Brokaw was driving down the streets in Los Angeles, and there was a hitchhiking. And Norman Brokaw picked the person up and drove to where he's going. And then he said, by the way, who are you? What did you do? What do you do? And he said, I just returned from Iwo Jima, and I have photographs of every living person. And the Brokaw brother was in the photograph showing that he was alive. That is a connect moment. Now, our view of connect moments is each of you's had them. We would love for you to send us your connect moment because it's storytelling. And we believe that the average person on the street, they all have connect moments. And if they see other people telling them, then they will. When you are your most creative, do you get in a sense of flow and ideas come to you? Almost everybody says yes to that. Time flies by in a sense of flow. Do you ever get the idea of an idea being channeled to you coming from outside? Almost nobody answers yes to that. Maybe 1 out of 10 at the highest. But that's the beginning to understand, connect to the universe. And the last question is, are you spiritual or religious? And almost everybody, many people say religious, more people now say spiritual. And then I say, if I go out on a clear summer night and lie down in the grass and look up at the stars and the galaxies, I get a sense of a power much greater than myself. Do you agree with that? Almost everybody does. And then I ask them, did they get guidance from that higher power? And many say yes. 9 out of 10 people are already connected, but they don't know it. And then if you talk about having more than 5 senses, they don't want to lose their friends. But so we have the opportunity to show everybody that they have this power. So I will stop by saying the following. I've pretty much, in 50 years, it's like spring training. And I've sort of learned a few things. So now I'm 82. And I'm going to lift 100. And if I didn't have a microphone on, I would leap out of the chair, run here, jump over the microphones, and run to the back and say I'm at the raring to go at the starting line, and here I come. Thank you all very much.
First of all, thank you, audience, for being amazing and receptive to this wonderful, wonderful man, Sam Beard. It's a pleasure to know you. Even more of a pleasure to know the depth of your caring and your love and the teaching and your compassion and getting everybody riled up, all of us, and what can we do? And thank you for being such a leader and an inspiration.
Well, thank you all very much, and Linda, thank you. And you couldn't bat me away with a stick, as you rather gather. And it's just, I'm simple and joyous, and here we go.